Okay, so this is a bit of a different video, but I've been on another hiatus for a bit, and this is why, so I hope you enjoy the video anyways. New Year's resolutions, a thing everyone does but very few actually manage to accomplish. Losing weight, sorting your life out, etc. You get the gist. For the year 2024, I made the bold resolution of finally finishing off my skill set to be able to make games as a solo developer. And what you see here are the fruits of my labour. Alright, so here's a bit of history with myself. I've always been well accustomed to Blender. What haven't I used Blender for? I've used it for doing commissions, 3D modeling, animating, CGI, enhancing videos, creating videos, photogrammetry, pretty much everything at this point. But there's always been one thing that I've always wanted to fulfill off my bucket list, and that's to produce a commercial game that goes on the marketplace, people buy and play, etc. I don't know, it's just always something that I've wanted to do, but could never do until this point. But as you might already know, having skills in Blender for modeling and animation alone isn't enough to make a game. You have to be able to program the game, and to previously attempt that, I always used to just try and get in touch with programmers who would be able to do that side for me, as previous attempts of learning programming have been pretty much like, alright, so here we go, learning a new language. A few days in, alright, I can finally make a basic calculator, progress is going good. And then a few days after that I end up getting bored, and then I forget a lot of the stuff that I learned. Basically, I found programming rather boring, and to further add to complications, I had the naive mindset that just because someone knew how to write in C# that they would be able to program for the purpose of game development in a game engine. Boy was I wrong, and we'll get to that in a short while. But then I realised that the likes of the Unity and Unreal Engine don't really even need programming knowledge anymore, because they have a thing called visual scripting. So I gave that a try. 1 week later, I managed to make this. A game where you fly a missile through an endless tunnel, avoiding obstacles and shooting targets to clear the way to aim to get a high score. If you asked me to do the same thing at the start of this year, I would have just brushed it off and laughed, and I would have said something along the lines of, I ain't no programmer, fool. But now, as of a few days ago of writing this, I have a completed game under my belt. It's at this point that I should mention I didn't really start documenting and recording this until I got about halfway through training and development, so please forgive me for the lack of early alpha footage of this game, because honestly, I started learning to do this with very low expectations at the beginning. I thought it was going to be a case of, this is too hard, I'll just go back to making GTA videos that can't even break in 10,000 views. But to my surprise, not only did I manage to get to the point where I was able to create a system in which the tunnel that you fly through randomly generates, I did it from level 0 experience in less than a week. So let me briefly go over what happened. First thing first, we need a missile that moves and turns when you tilt the mouse or the phone gyro. I look up visual scripting tutorials online to be able to do that. I very slowly learn how things work in the editor, and eventually I get it going. Great stuff. Next up, basic systems like the collisions, the death, and the game over systems. I go around YouTube looking for what I would need to be able to do that. One piece at a time, I slowly put scripts together. Eventually it all just works.
All of this just works.
And that does comprise of a lot of what I did last week. I would often just go around YouTube just watching tutorials. I wouldn't even follow them, I would just be constantly watching videos on how to use visual scripting for Unity Engine. It was just interesting, and I'd just watch it while having dinner, and it was just really interesting. As a result, I begin to level up my skills, I get faster and begin to be able to think for myself instead of relying on video tutorials to do one single thing. I begin to add more stuff, I gain more skills, and then I get to this point. I call it the master script, and it's a culmination of everything that I had learned in less than a week. It comprises of the game's menu systems, the high score, the game state controllers, and most importantly for me at least, the tunnel generation system. This little bit of code here makes the game work, while this makes everything happen in the tunnel generation process. Yeah, quite a lot of stuff, but it is pretty simple when you break it down. This is my game, allow me to show you around. Over here we have the main menu, so this is like what's displayed when you go to the main menu. Here's what everything looks like. So the main camera, the main menu is about here, looking at the missile. And then when you start the game, the player character goes into this missile, which flies through this tunnel, goes all the way through a generator tunnel, which can't actually be seen until the game actually starts. So this is where the generator tunnel would be, all the way from here to here. And then once you get to here, you get reset back to the start where a new tunnel is generated. Let's actually take a look at what the tunnel looks like on the outside. So here we are, I've started the game. And here we are, there's a tunnel generated. So if we restart the game, it'll generate a new tunnel, which is cool. So how that works is this object here, the master script object, pretty much controls the entire game. So let's take a quick look at the master script. Now there's quite a lot of stuff here that honestly I can't remember what it all does, but basically all of this green connected stuff is basically the random generator, and it takes up a large majority of the master script. And I learned how to do all of this in just a week, and I am pretty satisfied with the result, as it just works, alright? I was just like, I built it all and I was like, oh my god, I hope this all works. And it did, and I was like, hot damn, I made it work. So let's see, the best way to explain it is that, so during the generation of the tunnel, there is 10 segments of the tunnel that's generated in between here and here. So there's like tunnel piece 1, tunnel piece 2, tunnel piece 3, etc, etc, until you get to tunnel piece number 10. So if we take a look at the master script, there's actually 10 segments, there's 20 here, but it's divided by 2 because there's obstacles and tunnel pieces. So these are the tunnel piece. Wait, hold on. No, these are the tunnel pieces, and those are obstacles. So it generates one tunnel piece and one set of obstacles per segment. So when the script is initialized, it goes from 1 to 10, or 0 to 9, that's just how code works. It randomly selects out of an array of pieces that it can choose from, so it uses RNG to decide which of these pieces it's going to use. Then once it's been placed or selected, it then gets a random variable, wherever that might be. Yeah, it randomly positions the selected piece from a range of 0 to 360 degrees on an x-axis. So it selects the piece and then randomly rotates that selected piece. It does that 10 times until you have a complete track that is completely randomly generated and will never be the same twice. Over here I've got stuff like the game over condition, so whenever you hit the missile on a wall or a obstacle, it goes for all this stuff. And then I've got a point scoring system, high score systems, and yeah, I made all of this happen and I'm pretty damn proud of myself. Oh yeah! I know now that just because that you can script doesn't mean that you can necessarily work on a game. A lot of the experience comes from working with the actual game engine itself and learning all the little tidbits that you have to be able to figure out to be able to have what you want be able to work, if that makes sense. Like, you still need to be able to know how to lay out objects and such, and have all the different settings for the collision to work correctly, what you can and can't do with static colliders and dynamic objects. It's all a big learning process, and it's very fun. Well, at least I found it fun anyways. And with all that, the game was completed in about 1 to 2 weeks. I never really took notes of when I started exactly. I think it was about the 5th, and I finished about the 15th. And it works, on the most part. I later found out that there's a bit of a bug when it comes to touchscreen control implementation on the Unity editor, as the game works just fine when I'm in remote play and the editor using the phone, but when I would publish it as a build to run standalone just on my phone, part of the controls don't work properly, and I could never figure it out. It was apparently a known glitch with Unity that needed patching out, but yeah, I guess I'll try and find a workaround later. But regardless, I've already filled my New Year's resolution in the first goddamn week. But I'm not planning on stopping there. As an aspiring indie developer, I've already compiled some game design documents I want to pursue, and I think I'll give it a shot. I'll make a game that will be better than the likes of Gilson B. Pontes and Yandere Dev for sure. Either that or just give up, like a lot of people do. I don't know. But in the meantime, I'll be back with you making GTA videos. So stick around and I'll maybe inform you of my updates on my indie development game projects. Thanks for watching.